video isn't on. Yeah. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihar. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihar. Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Girivaradhari. Priya Gopi Jana Vallabha Jai Jai Girivaradhari Jaya Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Shodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Yamuna Tira Vanachari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihar. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihar. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivedanta. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Radha Madhava Radhe Jagannatha Jaya Baladeva Subhadrama Jaya Sudarshana Jai Jai Gopala Dev Jaya Gopala Dev Gopala Dev Jaya Gopala Dev. Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada Guru Deva Jaya Sri Pada Jaya Jaya Sri Pada Sripad. जय गुरु महाराज श्रील श्रीपाद की जय, जगत गुरु श्री प्रभुपाद की जय, जय ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, संवेद गौर भक्तवृंद की जय, जय पाशांकुश एकादशी महामहोत्सव की जय. So today we are continuing our Bhagavatam Seva, reading from the What is this? 7th canto, the 3rd chapter, verse number 31. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudiraye. Nashtaprayeshu abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavate Ruttama Sloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishiki. So this is verse number 31. Tvameva kalo nimisho jananam Ayurlavadhyavayavaikshinushi Kutastha atma parameshtyajo mahan Tvam jiva lokasya cha jiva atma Tvam eva kalo nimisho jananam Ayurlavadhyavayavaikshinushi Kutastha atma parameshtyajo mahan Tvam jiva lokasya cha jiva atma. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada ki jai. Translation. O my Lord, your Lordship is eternally awake, seeing everything that happens. As eternal time, you reduce the duration of life for all living entities through your different parts such as moments, seconds, minutes, and hours. Nonetheless, you are unchanged, resting in one place as a Supersoul, the Witness and the Supreme Lord, the birthless, all-pervading controller who is a cause of life for all living entities. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. In this verse, the word Kutastha is very important. Although the Supreme Personality of Godhead is situated everywhere, He is the central unchanging point. Ishvara Sarva Bhutanam Hriddeshe Arjuna Tishtati. Bhagavad Gita 18.61. The Lord is situated in the core of everyone's heart, as indicated in the Upanishad by the word Ekatvam. Although there are millions and millions of living entities, the Lord is situated as a super soul in every one of them. Nonetheless, He is one in many. As stated in the Brahma Samhita, Advaitam Achyutam Manadim Manantarupam. Samhita 5.33. He has many forms, yet they are Advaita, one and unchanging. Since the Lord is all-pervading, He is also situated in eternal time. The living entities are described as part and parcels of the Lord because He is the life and soul of all living entities, being situated within their hearts as a Antaryami, as enunciated by the philosophy of inconceivable oneness and difference, Achintya Veda Veda Tattva. Since the living entities are part of God, they are one in quality with the Lord, yet they are different from Him. The super soul who inspires all living entities to act is one and changeless. There are varieties of subjects, objects, and activities, yet the Lord is one. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prashaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Saruptamodar Swaminiti Namine Namah Sadbhaktamane Manipurudbhavaya cha Prabhupada Satpani Prachara Niratayate Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschata Deshatarine Vancha Kalpatarurvyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Nama Sankirtanam Yasya Sarva Papa Pranashanam Pranamo Dukkha Shamanastam Namami Harim Padam Sansara Sagare Magnam Deenam Mam Karunanide Karmagrahya Grihitangam Mam Uddhara Bhavarnavad Srimad Bhagavatam Akyoyam Pratyaksha Krishna Evahi Svikritosi Mayanata Mukyartam Bhavasagare. So yesterday was Guru Maharaj's Tirobhav Tithi, and unfortunately I was able to just listen because I was engaged in some seva. We are distributing some prasadam for 100, 50 devotees, and another 50 people outside for Guru Maharaj, to honor Guru Maharaj's memory. And we were fortunate to distribute like 15 of Guru Maharaj's books. And one professor, he agreed to become a member, actually. So some small seva for the pleasure of Srila Sripad and all the Vaishnavas. And today is Ekadasi, Pashankusha Ekadasi. It's also the disappearance day of Goswamis, Raghunath Das Goswami, Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, and Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. So 3 Goswamis, and it's also Ekadasi. I wanted to actually end with the glorification of Srila Sripad, but just a few words. Yesterday, Maharaj was saying that Vaishnavar Gunagan, what is that? Jive Ratran. Yeah, that is a protection for us. And then he said, Suniyache sadhu guru mukhe. We have heard this from all the sadhus that if we can glorify a Vaishnava. But among all the Vaishnavas, we choose, by arrangement, by, somehow by the blessings of the Lord and by the blessings of that Vaishnava, we choose the one person to be our, spiritual master, our guide. The person we have full faith that he will take us across this ocean of birth and death, from all this sufferings, this miseries, that this person will carry us across. We put our faith on that person. And then, we try to become his dancing puppet in his hand. Whatever he says, we just do it. There is no thinking about that. But in the material world, it is not so very easy, especially in Kali Yuga. It is not very easy to become, somebody to come into Krishna consciousness. There are so many things that stop us from doing that. And, somebody who help us to come to Krishna consciousness, they are actually a real friend and a real guide. It's rare. It's very rare to find that kind of person. Like if you take even your family members, those who are supposed to be very close to you, your mother and father, they also sometimes they are not that kind of friend. The parents, they want you to be big scholar, maybe a big doctor, big engineer, professor, lawyer, big scientist, so many things. But you tell me one parent who will, want their child to become a devotee, especially a brahmachari. Narottam Das Thakur, his mother, she was like that. She wanted that, that my boy will become a great devotee of the Lord. But you don't find like that. That you don't find this kind of help. So somehow we are fortunate that by Guru Maharaj's blessings, that we are able to, remain in this state, although we are not fully engaged at that thing. So, whatever little service we are able to offer, we pray that he is pleased, and all the Vaishnavas are pleased with that. And in Gita-vali, Bhaktivedanta Thakur is praying like this, but he's praying to Radha Madhava actually. The same prayer, just praying to Guru Maharaj that, Vishaya ye priti ebe ache amar. Say mata priti o charane tumar. Whatever, all these kind of, affections and attractions that, I have for all these material things, this material, people, all these material relationships. Guru Maharaj, I pray that, I may develop that same kind of affection and attraction to your lotus feet. That if I'm not able to do my job in this lifetime, maybe life after life, I come to execute that. So this is my prayer at this lotus feet, because, even it's not just in Kali Yuga and thing, but always it is Guru Kripa hi Kevalam. Without the Guru's mercy, nothing is actually possible. So having said that, we will go on to our Bhagavatam class today. So this verse is, the Lord is being glorified, saying, Tvam Kalo, Tvam Eva Kalo, Animisho Jananam. Your eternal time. The Lord is also declaring that in the Bhagavad Gita, Kalosmi Lokashaya Krit, that I'm a time. Lokashaya Krit, I've come to destroy all this, Shaya, to completely destroy all this. There is one aspect of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And the life, it is calculated by Lavadi, lava seconds like that, Nimisham, lava, there are different calculations of time. And every human being is actually allotted 100 years of lifespan, but because of his activities and so many other factors that, we don't generally live for those 100 years. The third canto, especially in the 11th chapter of the Bhagavatam, the third canto and the 11th chapter, you will get a whole description about this time. But you see, Prabhupada is giving the purport, is giving importance to that word, Kutastha. Prabhupada is saying, in this verse, this word Kutastha is very important. He is not saying time is very important, nor is he saying the living entities are very important, because, Jiva Lokasya, this whole world is filled with living entities. He's not even saying that Jiva Atma, the super soul, Paramatma is, Prabhupada is not stressing, but Prabhupada is stressing that this word Kutastha, and Prabhupada has translated this word Kutastha as without being affected by anything. The same word has been used in the Bhagavad Gita. There is this, I think it in the 12th chapter, Bhakti Yoga. One second. Verse number 3 and 4 is saying, Ye tu aksharam anirdeshyam abhyaktam paryupasate sarvatragam achintyam cha kutastam achalam dhruvam. The same word kutastam has been used, but the meaning Prabhupada has written that kutastam means in the center. Prabhupada has translated that word here in the Bhagavad Gita verse as in the center. But in the Bhagavatam verse which we are discussing, the same word has been translated as, what is Prabhupada saying? Without being affected by anything. Both the meanings apply. The Lord is in the center of everything. Without him, nothing will exist. And also, although he is in the center of everything, the Lord is not being affected by anything. Asango ayam hi purusha. The Supreme Personality, although he is there in everything, he is still individual, Asanga. Is not affected by all these changing things, the changing circumstances, everything. The way we are affected, the living entities are affected. So, Kala, time and tide, from childhood we hear this, time and tide waits for no man, right? Time doesn't stop. Time constantly is going. And the devotees are very careful that this time is spent very nicely in the service of the Vaishnavas and service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. avyartha kalatvam, they say, don't waste your time, because this opportunity, getting a human form is rare, and getting the time to do devotional service, that golden opportunity is very much rare. And when you compare time, the description in the Bhagavatam, when you're comparing the time with other living entities, a human being's lifespan is not that much. If you see the demigods in the heavenly planets, 1 year, one of our years is actually 1 day for them, 1 day and 1 night, 24 hours for them. So the demigods, they live like that for 100 years. But our lifespan for them, it is just 100 days. The demigods, it's just 100 days. And within this 100 days, a human being, he can glorify the Supreme Personality, render service, and he can go back home, back to God. Compared to Lord Brahma's lifespan, our life is hardly a few seconds. Few minutes, maybe. And in those few minutes, you see, we can perform this nice devotional service, get surrendered to a spiritual master, and we can go back home, back to God. So if you think like that from the broader perspective, devotional life is not actually a very difficult thing to do. Prabhupada always used to ask, what is the difficulty? And actually, there is no difficulty. But still, because of this mind and because of this attachment to all these changing things around us, these material things, we get caught up in that whirlpool. So we get swayed by all these things very easily. But to be swayed towards this non-changing, the one supreme person, that becomes a huge, complicated affair. But actually, it is the most natural, the most easiest thing. The Bhagavatam is repeatedly saying that, the Lord is a life of all the living entities. So if we are actually surviving, if we are actually living, it is because of the presence of the Lord. And if, maybe you're not able to do something, but at least you should acknowledge this fact. At least you should try to remember this fact. See, the people who are capable, they can do so many things very nicely. But the Lord is so kind, so accommodating that, even one thing you do in a proper way, with full faith, the Lord is kind enough to take that person back home, back to Godhead for that particular reason. But we are so stubborn. We are so stubborn. Every opportunity is being provided, and, we are so stubborn. We just don't want to go. So this third canto in the Bhagavatam is saying that the Lord is, I'll just read through that. Is a translation of these verses all the way up to, maybe the 11th or 12th, just to give you an idea of the time, how minutely the Bhagavatam is describing time. It says that Prabhupada is writing in the purports in the translation that this material manifestation, ultimately the smallest particle which cannot be divided, is called the anu or the atom. Prabhupada is saying as atom. It always exists as an invisible identity, even after the dissolution of all these different forms. Whatever we see, everything, if it is completely dissolved, ultimately that atom will remain. That is not dissolved. So the material body, or whatever bodies and things we see, is all a combination of these atoms. But this thing is being misunderstood by the common man. That's what Prabhupada is writing in the very first translation of that first verse. Then he's saying these atoms are the ultimate state of this manifest universe. That is the ultimate thing. When they stay in their own forms without forming different bodies, they are called as unlimited oneness. So actually, this unlimited oneness, this impersonal thing, this atoms, you use that to calculate time. The measurement, the calculation of time from the atom. That is the title of this chapter. So time is calculated by how much these atoms are covering a particular atomic space. This is how time is calculated. So this time which covers unmanifest aggregate of atoms is called great time. Now, whatever time we have, that is a small time, limited time. But there is something called the great time, and this great time, Prabhupada is saying, which covers this entire unmanifest aggregate of atoms, all these atoms together. So how this gross time is being divided and calculated, this comes in the 5th verse. He's saying there is one atom, there are two atoms, they make a double atom. One double atom means there are two, double. Like this, when there are three double atoms, so totally there is 3 into 2, 6. 6 atoms are called a hexaatom. Now, this hexaatom, sometimes in the sunlight, you see the sun streaming down through the window. You can see the small, very tiny particles. If you actually observe it very clearly, you can see. This hexatom is those particles actually, which, these are the things which you can see. That is the smallest thing you can see. Then it is said that this hexatom, like this 3 hexatoms is called a Truti, and 100 Trutis, they make a Veda. These 3 Vedas, they make one Lava. So this is a sequence. And Lava Matra, Sadhu Sangha Sarva Siddhi Hoy. If you simply associate with, even this one Lava, such a short period with a Sadhu, a pure Vaishnava, Sarva Siddhi Hoy. You have every opportunity to achieve all perfection in your life. Means you will go back home, back to Godhead, and you will meet Krishna, the Supreme Personality. So then the time for this, what is that? One lover, 3 lovers, they make one nimisha. We say, 1 nimisham. And then like this, 3 nimishas make 1 shana. 5 shanas, they make 1 kasta. And 15 kastas make 1 lagu. So like this, it goes to Nadi, then there is Danda, then there is Muhurta, and then there is, 1/4 of a day or night, and then there is, there is a fortnight, and 2 fortnights, Sukla Paksha and Krishna Paksha, they constitute 24 hours of the Pitra Lokas. But 6 months, this Dakshinayan and Uttarayan, the 6 months period of the sun moving north and moving south, the 6 months, they constitute 1 day, 24 hours of the demigods. So like this, time is being calculated. And it goes all the way to the Manus, the Manvantras, where the Manus, they say for 71, 72 yugas of, yuga cycles. And then like this, we come all the way to Brahma, who stays for, this Sahasra Yuga Pariyantam. Brahma's 1 day is like 1,000 yugas. So it's like unimaginable time. But the thing is, even within the short limited period which is provided to us, we can get into this eternal business of Krishna consciousness. Yesterday I was listening to Prabhupada's lecture, and Prabhupada is saying that if a person is not Krishna consciousness, he is not in Krishna consciousness, he is crazy. Prabhupada has made this statement, very nice statement. And why he is crazy? Because he has forgotten his eternal business. We are eternal beings, and our business also has to be eternal. It cannot be something temporary. We are eternal, so the business we do, it has to be eternal. And that eternal business is Krishna consciousness. So he's saying that if you are running after all these temporary things, you are crazy. You're not in normal condition, you are in disease condition. And how to escape from this disease condition is what is being presented here. That if somebody becomes, somebody worships the Lord, somebody is glorifying the Lord, who's unchanged, who's birthless, who's all-pervading controller, and who's actually the cause of life for all the living entities. When somebody is able to do that, then, the person can get out from this temporary business to the permanent business that he is meant to be doing. And the Bhagavatam is nudging us in that direction. Don't be misdirected. Don't run after these temporary things. They're not going to last anyway. Don't remain in this foolishness. So this is a humble attempt. This is what Prabhupada is saying, that, in this darkness where people are all engaged in this temporary business, we are trying to bring them towards this light of spiritual life. We're trying to nudge them in the proper way. You please come this way. And it has to be voluntary. You cannot force a person actually to do these things. You can present it very nicely in such a way that that person finds it palatable, and maybe he thinks it over, and then ultimately the decision has to be his own. He has to come. We cannot force. And Guru Maharaj, he was very expert in that. He was very expert in making friends. This one quality, Prabhupada remarked. Swarup Damodar is very expert in making friends. So Maharaj could go to the scientists, speak to them very nicely, express genuine interest in what they're doing, what is your research, what are you doing, and then they would open up. And Maharaj used to give them all these gifts, this Narsinga Mala from Mayapur, maybe some nice prasadam, and somehow they open up, and then when they are discussing that I'm researching on this particular topic in science, and then Maharaj would put in, in the Vedanta something like this comes. In our Vedic philosophy, something like this is there. What do you think about this? Like that. Non-confrontational approach. It's like, great minds are discussing something very nice. And everybody appreciated this quality actually. That Guru Maharaj was able to, with all this knack, to deal with all these great scientists. So this is human life, to glorify Lord Krishna, and how you glorify Lord Krishna is by glorifying your spiritual master. He glorifies his spiritual master, the parampara is glorified, and ultimately Krishna is glorified. So this is a simple thing. And God, these people, they make so much sound. I think I will stop here. Are there any questions, any suggestions, or any comments? Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Patient listener. They are selling these things on the road. They just turn on the mic, full volume, and non-stop they keep playing this. Like we play Prabhupada's Dhun, they keep playing this. And every 10 minutes, somebody is coming up selling vegetables or something or the other. It's really very difficult. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you very much. I think I'll stop here. I'm little. Hare Krishna.
So, any devotees have any questions? Okay. Nila Madhav, please.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dhanavad Pranam. I have one question which is not in tune to your class, but like what instrument they used to use in Vedic culture to measure time? Because this scale you are telling is different from now. So,
Oh yeah. Okay. Olden times, I don't know. See, they have a measuring pot for one nadika. He said it is prepared. I'm reading the little translation. Okay. It is prepared with a 6 pala weight or 14-ounce pot of copper. Right? There's a pot with a hole that is bored with a gold probe weighing 4 masa. 4 masa means like 4 fingers long or something like that. I don't know. They have all these measurements. Prabhupada has translated like that. I'm just repeating. And when the pot is placed on water, the time before the water overflows the pot is called 1 danda. This is how they're measuring. So, but the time calculation is, they have all these very precise measurements actually. But they use the olden day, like we are using kgs or we use pounds and grams like that, milligrams. They use all these, this old and ancient terminologies that the Sanskrit terminology is sometimes is little difficult to understand. Because when we even say the 4 fingers, right? measurement of 4 fingers, your fingers and my fingers are different. So somebody's hand may be small, mine is little big. So this 4-finger measurement could vary actually. So they must have some standard measurement for that also. Copper pot, that is okay. 14 ounce copper pot, that is fine. But this like 4 fingers hole in that, and so it's a little difficult to understand actually. That's why Prabhupada didn't stress so much on the time. Prabhupada is stressing on kutastha. Time is changing. The times are changing. We changing. Our mentality is changing. But Krishna is always unchanging. Prabhupada is focusing on that unchanging aspect. The spiritual world where nothing is created or destroyed. Nothing changes there. The time also, Nimesharda kyo va vrajati nahi yatrapi samaya. Brahma Samhita, very clearly it is mentioned, Even time, one nimisha also, it doesn't change. It is always the eternal time. Time is there. It's very difficult to understand these things. We have to go back to the spiritual world. Otherwise, we will not understand. Because this is beyond our senses. It's beyond the purview of a senses. It's not difficult. It's not easy to accommodate all these ideas actually, because we have no experience of these things. We literally don't have any experience of these things. So unless you go back to the spiritual world, or you get some special mercy from Guru and Krishna, it's very difficult. Realization may be there, but it may not be perfect realization also. You can get some understanding maybe, but getting perfect realization, it's very, very difficult actually. So we just try to, we just repeat. That's all. We just repeat what the acharyas are saying. And if there is any problem with the understanding, we think it is all our fault. This is how, we maintain this humility as far as knowledge is concerned. Yeah?
Any other
Okay.
devotees?
Okay, Prabhu. One observation I want to tell, even in spiritual world, the things are different, right? Because the Christians
Different
declare there
means
is no sun.
varieties are there. The sun is there, but the function of the sun is not to give light. Like the bodies of all the spiritual bodies, they are self-effulgent. When any person, the Vishnu Dutas or anybody from Golok or somebody, they come, their bodies itself is so effulgent, it can light up a room. So they don't require a sun for light. Here, unless the sunlight is there or some tube light is there, practically we cannot see. It's very difficult, right? We need some light here. But for them, the bodies itself will be effulgent. So they can see everything with their own body light. So the sun is there just for some, pastime sake. That's all. Because the sun is a personality, so that personality is also there. That's it.
Okay.
So that's what it's very difficult to conceive this thing.
Okay, Prabhuji,
Yeah,
thank you very much. You have something more to say?
Yeah, this service, see, that's I just wanted to add this point. Everybody is doing some service, but how do you say? The service, whether it is pleasing to Guru and Krishna, is the most important thing. Everybody is doing service. And then the other point is that whether one is very attached to that service, this is also much more important. Otherwise, like lip service, we talk so many things, this, that. But then if one is not very attached to the service, it means that there is no attachment to Guru and Krishna. If we are not attached to these unchanging things, then we become attached to all the changing things. This is the point. And then time just goes. Time just goes by. So this attachment, is very important, especially attachment to all these non-changing things, steady things, something which will always be there, whether in this life or next life, eternal business we were talking about, that is very important. Yeah. Thank you, Maharaj.
Okay, any other questions? Or Maharajji, you are unmuted.
Yes. Hare Krishna. So,
Hare Krishna, Maharaj. Dandavat, Maharaj.
I made observation. I appreciate Neil Madhav Prabhu's question because he's looking for the missing link. And that is explained in Bhagavatam. You just somehow missed it. You know it, but you missed it. And I want to point out, and especially when you say that we have had no experience of this spiritual realm. So there is no question of going back there. We have yet to go there. So this concept has to be very, very well registered in our conscience. You know, you yourself is establishing that we have had no experience of this spiritual realm. So where is the question of going back there? Because the experience there is eternal. If it's an eternal experience, we would have never left it.
Never left it.
You know? So we have yet to make it there. And regarding the calculation of time, in the same section which you mentioned, it is described that the time the sun rays takes to cross that Shadranu or 6, that is the smallest amount of time, you know. So the time frame, when we say the time the sun rays takes to cross the space of one atom, that is the smallest unit per time. And when you multiply, then it comes to visibility, like 6 Renus, Shatranu. Then it connects. So the time is that shloka in Bhagavatam, Ayur Harati Vai Punsam Udyan Astancha Yannasau. The Ayu, the Kala, it is always in connection to the rising of the sun and setting of the sun. And what does it signify? That how much space the sun takes, the sun rays to travel, you know. So accordingly, we can set up the space and time. They are all related, you know. So that was the point. I think Nilmada would be satisfied with this conclusion. The time the sun takes to cross the space of one atom and 6 atoms, and all these gradations are very well explained. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Very nice.
They have this. They have this
please.
atomic clock also, right? This atomic clock, which is supposed to be very accurate. I don't know how they're using that in modern science. Maybe, you know, some of our scientists can shed light on that. They say it is an atomic clock. So they are using the atoms also. But here we use the natural sunlight and the time it takes to cross over one atom, as Maharaj was saying. But how do those scientists, they use as atom to measure time? It will be an interesting topic. Nilmadhav, you have any idea?
Hare Krishna. But somebody is sharing some screen. No sharing screen, please. So,
No, I just said they were asking about atomic clock. I want to show that instrument how they can. So,
yeah, you
Hare
tell.
Krishna.
If you know something,
you can see in Google there is so much with
Google it.
where is
Okay,
Google Baba, so much is there.
Google Bhagwan, Maharaj. Google Bhagwan.
Bhagwan ne Baba.
Google Maharaj.
So, very nice. As I remember, I forgot now, we had this discussion with our Phillips, and I know a long time I have read it. I think time is generally measured with vibration. Like if you see wall on the clock, there is one pendulum moving around, right? So the periodicity they measure. And in the electronic clocks, they use quartz crystals. Quartz, they use the vibrations of quartz. But if you see the pendulum, it is its length is changing according to the weather. So it's not precise. In summer, it is running in one speed. In winter, it is running another speed. So same with anything. So scientists came up with an idea that the vibrations of an atom at a particular temperature is constant. So,
but Maharaj, how they determine which temperature they are supposed to measure the vibration?
That is, they are coming as much close possible to the absolute zero. or I don't remember exactly, some temperature they maintain. That's why laser cooling of atoms comes into picture. They cool the atoms to almost close to zero, means minus 273 Kelvin. So at that place, they try to maintain the temperature with the laser cooling. So there is a concept called laser cooling. Because the temperature of the atoms depends on their velocity. So what they do, they slowly, like there is one swing is there, Julan. How do you stop? If you stop at a time, it will, every time it comes to you, you give little force to stop also, right? So after some time it will stop. So with the laser, they bombard the atoms slowly. So slowly they will bring it to motion to almost zero. So the temperature becomes minus 273 Kelvin. So there, so they have some vibration, that is some constant. So that is the standard. So everybody have that setup, atom clock. So they cool the atoms to zero or whatever close to that. They have some standard temperature. I don't remember now. So at that temperature, anywhere, whatever temperature outside, the vibrations of the atoms are constant. Because time means we have to have same clocks, right? Your clock and my clock should be the same. Right? So this way we can keep exactly running the same. Right? Otherwise, I am in AC room, you are in another room, that our temperature is different. So clock is so different. So therefore, this laser cooling of atoms, they have this standard vibration of atoms. That's why the discussion was mentioned that the vibration of atoms is a standard. In Bhagavatam is mentioned. Time can be measured from the vibration of atoms. So we are just relating that because that is the work of Phillips. Phillips is laser cooling of atoms, and it is used in GPS. And how they use in GPS? In GPS, synchronized atomic clocks are placed in 4 satellites, I think, which will cover all that. And by seeing the your position on the earth is calculated by seeing the difference between their arrival, the signal arrival. They send the timestamp, right?
Yeah.
So they arrive in different times. So at this particular time, you see their timestamp. And based on their timestamp, you can determine their position. So therefore, you can determine your position. So our GPS, which is working in our mobiles, it is working because of atomic clocks which are placed in the satellites.
Satellites, okay.
They're all synchronized, and the timestamp determines their position and therefore our position. I think this much. There may be some. There may be some wrong in some areas, but this is the overall idea.
Okay, yes. Maharaj, I just have one small question. You said that minus 273 Kelvin is like almost absolute temperature, right? This is absolute zero or something like that. Do those atoms, they vibrate at that particular temperature? I mean,
yeah, I think there is still atoms are still atoms, I think.
No, I'm talking about vibration. Do they vibrate even at that cold? Is there?
Yeah. Yes. Because the atoms are in the atoms, electrons will be revolving. I think something is there. Overall, atom is not moving, but inside everything is. Electrons are rotating.
Oh.
Because of that, something may be there. That part I don't remember.
Okay.
So one question, this one, going back to Godhead, that we are all part and parcel of Krishna. This is to our Govinda Maharaj. We are all part and parcel of Krishna. So going back could mean that we are again reuniting with Krishna. Can we think in that way?
Maharaj, I think it's like Krishna is with us always as Paramatma, right? But we are not always with Krishna. So when we go back to Krishna, this is what is going back to God. It is there. we are physically maybe there, but mentally we are absent, I think. Consciousness is
mentally
not there,
going back.
Yeah, mentally going back.
With Krishna is always with Krishna. Krishna is always with us, but we are not with
us,
Krishna.
But we are not with Krishna, yeah.
Yeah.
So we have to go back, yeah.
Maharaj, if he can unmute and throw some further light.
It is attaining the Supreme. It is not returning to Supreme. Attaining the Supreme, something you may have, you have forgotten it, correct? And you have, so you are put in a position. Ultimately, you have to see in context of Krishna's Leela. When we isolate ourselves from Krishna's Leela, then all these philosophies and speculations take place. Krishna has manifested this realm. This Srishti Leela is also his Leela, and we have been playing our role. So Krishna has facilitated us that yes, this is your options, and we have somehow that we have not taken the ultimate option which Krishna wishes for all of us. But invariably, we have been only acting according to our swarup, that is service of Krishna. Even in forgetfulness, even in ignorance, as you said, that we have to find our eternal engagement. So this has become our eternal engagement again and again, becoming situated or aspiring to become situated in the temporary realm. We think, later, and we have compromised with this life's this conditioning. This is how life comes, and let it just go in circle. But there's an option which the sadhu expresses. No, you can truly attain such a body, such a rupa, which is conducive to your swarupa identity as the eternal servant of Krishna. So the aspiration to attain the eternal form, eternal body, is what is the ultimate message and push of Srimad Bhagavatam and Chaitanya Charitamrita. So we are eternally part and parcel of Krishna. Means we are eternally part of Krishna's existence, and we have been playing our role. It's just a matter of options when you want to take that option. Like Krishna says, "Kaschin mam veti tatvata." Only some very rare person wants to attain my eternal realm, But so it is like hide and seek game, That's why I say I will put this Leela. We have to see Krishna's Leela. Because Krishna's Leela has been going on since eternity. The Srishti Leela is also endless. It's a beginningless. It's going on in circle, resolution, creation, and since Krishna is the limit of everything, and he himself is limitless, causeless, beginningless. So everything is also beginningless. This creation Leela is also beginningless. It has been going on ever since Krishna has existed, and Krishna has existed anadi, correct? So everything is going. So the concept of going back to Godhead is that forgetfulness, because ultimately attaining the Supreme, attaining the Supreme. There's a book title, Attaining the Supreme, on the way to Krishna, attaining the Supreme. The whole idea is attaining the Supreme means in our consciousness. So consciousness is yet to attain that platform, and it's and somehow or other, that's why we discussed that our odds are very against us, and they have always been against us, even last life or this in life. But in this life, we can overrule all the odds again, because we have the mercy principle of a pure devotee in our favor, and this behooves all of us to never let us settle for anything less than the best, ultimate. So if we talk about odds, then again something will happen, and we will just say, "Oh, why to hurry this lifetime, or why to worry about this?" Ultimately, our consciousness has to become so charged with the thought of Krishna, and that then let Krishna take over us, and we don't worry even on going back to God. It's a big concern for many, I want to go back to God. But the concern of a pure devotee is let Krishna do whatever he wants to do with me. So that awareness is attaining the Supreme. Because then we are directly in consciousness of Krishna, even when apparently in this material realm or wherever Krishna is manifesting. So the concept of going back to God, it is not some kind of degree attainment. You know, I want to go back to Godhead. I want to go back to Godhead. But we don't have the experience of being with God, you know. Our experience is only with God's energy and God's arrangement. But only those pure devotees, when they come in our lives, they make it real. Okay, yes, we can attain the form, we can attain a body which is eternal, and that is waiting for all of us in the spiritual realm. So that conception, in a maturity, it is appreciable. But otherwise, in the beginning, is the condition of one has to pound. You are not this body, you are not this body, you are not this body. You are the spirit soul. But spirit soul means it has also a spiritual body that we don't discuss much. So when we aspire for the spiritual body, that is attaining the Supreme. Because what the soul will do if it doesn't have the atmosphere or the body which is conducive to do seva. With this decaying body, we cannot serve Krishna, can we? It is filthy, it is smell, it is decaying, it's so much
unfit.
We must contemplate about our eternal spiritual swarupa, spiritual rupa, with which to be able to serve. And that contemplation begins in this sadhaka stage, you know. Sadhane bhavivo jaha. In Nautam Das Thakur's, there is one stanza, Sadhane bhavivo jaha siddha dehe paivo taha. So sadhana means in this practice stage, when we aspire that we want to attain the eternal seva of Krishna, you know, whenever but our consciousness has been ignited that we want to attain the eternal seva of Krishna rather than this temporary affairs of this world. So then eternal seva of Krishna can be available even here, you know. It's not that we are bereft, but when our consciousness is surcharged by the touch of a pure devotee, then we experience that eternality of Krishna seva even while living in this perishable body with the contemplation of our spiritual body. That is the idea. So it's a very lofty idea. And so Nautam Das Thakur says, Sadhane bhavivo jaha siddha dehe paivo taha. When you become eligible through your contemplation in this lifetime, when you attain your perfected body according to the sentiment you develop, and the sentiments which Krishna accepts, and accordingly the siddha deha, the eternal form is given to us. So it is not that something we don't become aware. No, we become aware. We become conscious of our. We start contemplating about our eternal body, and that is waiting for all of us. Every one of us, the spiritual body is in a inactive fashion. Is a station. There is a decoration of the spiritual body, and when Krishna accepts becomes attracted to our sentiment or bhava in particular mood, and whichever bhava Krishna accepts, and accordingly we are given a spiritual body. So it's a very little esoteric topic to discuss among the modern scientists' atmosphere, but we must not be bereft of it, because
Maharaji,
just think of
Shrikant Prabhuji raised his hand and below it.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll just also Roshan Prabhuji has raised his hand before. So
yeah, I'm just saying, my request is that we meditate on the two songs which Guru Maharaj has sung, you know.
which songs,
Dekhite, Dekhite and Kabe Gaura Bane. Very contemplative, and we must be able to appreciate our Guru Maharaj's eternal Rupa, the Swarup Manjari. You know, this is what I feel inspired. So that's the thing. It's not that we become bereft, and we will talk about this later. In this lifetime, we have to imbibe that mood also. Hare Krishna. Yeah, so let us listen from Srikant Prabhu. Yes.
Hare Krishna.
Srikant Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Actually, it is
Jai
not a
Shri.
question. So maybe if you Maharaji thinks Radhavan Prabhu can ask the question. But I was just trying to add what Maharaji is already speaking, that we should use this word back to Godhead or back to spiritual world very cautiously. And because these things are quite inconceivable, so we may end up in using this in this way, that we may like to give this chronological aspect, but actually it is not chronological. It is more to do with ontology. Our ontology is service, eternal servant of Krishna. So going back to Godhead, once one revives his connection with this ontology, his constitution, then that would be the meaning of back to Godhead.
I just
So
got a funny thought. Yeah, finish.
There's not a chronology that earlier we were there and we did something and we came here, now we have to go back. So we have to judiciously use Hare Krishna.
No, I just got this thought that Prabhupada is saying back to Godhead, right? And the meaning is literally clear. But what I'm thinking is that our back is to Godhead, but you turn around, you face the front, put your front to Godhead. That's what this turning around fully and putting a front facing God directly. This turning around is a sadhana, and then seeing the Lord face to face like that. That is the ultimate goal, attaining the Supreme. So I just got this thought.
Wonderful, Srikant Prabhu.
Very
Is
good.
wonderful this. And Prabhupada has used it left and right, and we have to be very cautious in that, because we have too much analytical. Prabhupada is using for the simple-minded people, and we are analyzing going inside the atom and inside the electron, inside the quark. So our Balram Prabhuji raised his hand. I want to ask our Roshan Prabhuji. He still wants to ask question because his hand is not raised. Roshan Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
No, Maharaj. Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Okay. Balram Prabhuji, please.
Yeah, Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Hare Krishna, Maharaj, all Maharaj, everyone. Yeah, Dhanavad Pranam. Yeah, very nice discussion. I think I missed this discussion because I was in the other class, but it's very exciting. This going back to Godhead, I think this going word is not perfect. Back to Godhead is okay. As our Maharaj said, attaining the Supreme is also, I think, much better than this back to Godhead. Because back to Godhead means going back. We are not going anywhere. We are attaining to the Supreme. So that's why I like this attaining the Supreme, then back to Godhead.
Haribol.
Yeah.
Back to Balaram.
No.
Krishna Balaram Maharaj.
Balaram is Krishna.
all your blessings, Maharaj.
I have a question to our Prabhuji.
I have.
You also question? Okay, please. We thought you are done.
No, please. No, I just want to have some comment on this vibration of the atoms. Prabhuji asked that question at zero temperature. So we can never achieve zero temperature, because the temperature is the
absolute zero.
Yeah, absolute zero we can never achieve, because the temperature that we say, it is basically due to the vibration of the atoms. And even if we keep an atom fixed, it will never remain fixed, because in the atom, electrons are always revolving around the nucleus. So absolute zero doesn't say the atoms are not vibrating at all. So there is something called 0-point motion, and that 0-point motion is because we have these electrons revolving around the nucleus. And here, because the electrons are revolving, they have some kinetic energy. And everything, I mean, this kinetic energy can be thought of like external energy of Lord. And the potential energy, the attractive potential energy is kind of the Yogamaya. That's the internal potential of Lord. So in this way, I mean, we can never thought of attaining this zero temperature if we are in this material world. Because always the electrons are revolving around the nucleus.
So you're saying we can attain zero temperature in the spiritual world?
Yeah, absolutely. Because the material is not there. Because the material is not there. Yes.
Thank you, Balram.
So,
okay, thank you, Prabhuji. You can lower your hand. And Maharaj, you want to add something?
Yes, this going back means we are in the wrong direction. The Prabhupada say, go back, you are in the wrong, like in America, everywhere, when you're driving in the wrong side, wrong way. So what the police will say, go back to Godhead, to the right direction. Go back means reverse your wrong turn you took, reverse it, and then to the right direction.
The right way.
But the driver may be in the wrong direction from the very beginning itself.
That's why how many
from the home he is on the wrong direction. Possibility.
And we are so used to going in the wrong direction time and again, since eternity, and it has become we got so used to it. This is how we can appreciate. When you become so used to something so wrong, it's very, very difficult. But when Krishna makes us forgetful of our wrong turns in the past, and we have to just take care of the wrong turn in this lifetime and take the right turn and attain the Supreme. Shortest and surest cut, by the inspiration of those who have taken the right cut and right direction. That's it. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Maharaji. So, Prabhuji, finally my question. Thank you for all of you for participating in the discussion. So, generally we think the Lord as a life, source of life, or He is a life. But here Lord is described as a person who takes away life, reduces life on daily basis or on constant basis. So how do we understand that Lord is either He is a giver of life or He is a taker of life?
Yeah. The sunrise and sunset, time is taken away. The lifespan is being taken away. We are talking about material lifespan, Maharaj. But then the soul is always eternal, and he's not actually in any way connected with the moon. So that life is there, but we are not still there in that lifespan. So the Lord is always a giver, because He is the source of everything. So ultimately, He can only give. This taking away is like we are talking about this material lifespan, which is actually not something permanent, and it is inconsequential anyway compared to the eternal thing. So in that sense, the Lord is always a giver. And, in the material life, we say that the Lord is also Mrityu Sarva Haras Chaham. The Lord comes as death. But it is all on the perspective how you see that thing. So for devotees, the Lord is always a giver. He gives you life, and for the materialists, the Lord is always like the taking of life, because He understands He is somehow immortal, but He cannot remain like that in that position, the way He wants in the material sphere. So for those people, the Lord always is like the taker. He takes away everything. He's taking away my time. He's taking away my money. Sarva Haras, everything. Whatever they think is important to them is being taken away. But for the devotee, always the Lord is the most important thing. So, nobody can take away that. Even the Lord Himself, He cannot take away that. So, He is always a giver there. So, this is my understanding.
It can be both, yeah?
Yeah. It depends on how you are looking, the outlook, which side you are. beside you're seeing the coin. Achinte Beda Beda, no? Prabhupada is writing in the thing, is inconceivable oneness and difference. Thank you, Maharaj.
Okay, Prabhuji, thank you very much. Srikant Prabhuji, please.
Now this question, Prabhuji was telling, and in Bhagavatam also it is written, Shukadeva Goswami is telling to Parikshit Maharaj that in the sunbeam we see these structures and these six whatever. So how do we? I mean, how can a Parmanu or such a atomic kind of thing be visible? Because we all see it, we all see. So how can we like relate? How can be such a minuscule thing be visible to us? Is it something else which Shukadeva Goswami is referring to? That is something.
He's saying the smallest visible thing is the tiny dust particles in the sunlight. Sometimes you see filtering through the window screen, right? You can see those tiny dust particles. If you have seen the sun rays, you can see actually there are small tiny particles. And if somebody's vision is really perfect, that is the smallest thing that you can see. This hexatom. This is what he's saying. So maybe we don't have that kind of vision nowadays, but yeah. It's possible to see. We do see the sun rays, no? We do see those
we definitely
particles,
see those
particle.
dust particle, definitely see, but
yeah.
That smallest dust particle is also consisting of thousands, millions of atoms should be. And definitely thousands and millions of these hexaatoms, I guess. So somehow we have to understand this. Yeah.
We are looking at it from the material way. That is the thing. So we have to look at it from the spiritual way. Yeah.
No, it's a great question by Srikant. It's a great question, but we don't deny that atom covers some space, correct, Srikant Prabhu? However, subatomic, anything,
definitely,
it does have some space. And so the quantifiable vision the Srimad Bhagavatam for us conditioned souls is given. Okay, if you take billions of subatomic atoms, it will become visible. So that's where our Madan Manal Prabhu brought this point of Bhagavatam. That in our context, the six, the Renus and all, the very technical thing. But if you talk about subatomic, but it does have some space covered. And there's in the calculable fashion, Srimad Bhagavatam is benefiting us, giving us proper idea. Okay, with these many collection, and it becomes visible then when the sun, the time it takes to cover that much space is the one unit which is perceivable by us. But if we get lost into the calculation of the smallness of the subatomic, we can have. That's why this Andantarastha Parmanu, Brahma Samhita did sloka, smaller than the smallest and the greater than the greatest. It's very difficult to perceive the smaller than the smallest. But greater than the greatest we can perceive. The Krishna is so great and so humongous, Mahavishnu is manifestation, that his pore is also so big that the millions of Brahmandas can capture the space. You know, it is perceivable intellectually also. Krishna is so big, bigger than the wildest imagination we can think how big Krishna can be. You know, that his pores in his hair or in his skin are so big that they can contain billions of universes. You know, so that's why opulence of the Supreme is not something to be so much contemplated, because then we will lose the real beauty of his Madhurya. It's just God is great, as Prabhupada said, that's good enough. Now let us rejoice with him. Let us relish what he really wants to offer all of us by coming to our realm and manifesting his attraction, most attraction, so fascinating even to himself. So he comes again and again to feel fascinated himself, because Krishna did anything primarily for fulfilling his agenda, correct? Secondarily, he is trying to attract all of us if we are ready in any lifetime. So we can count on this lifetime because we got the greatest opportunity and we must not miss out on it. All glories to our determination, all of us. We can thank all of us if we are feeling determined to follow what Guru Maharaj has exposed, the vision of Mahaprabhu and for all of us. Then the science and everything, they can be definitely used in the service of that mission. But our vision should be so clear-cut and so elevated, so consuming us completely, thought, actions, and body, that we are not deviated. We don't become distracted, or we don't become. We don't settle for anything less than that best. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Maharajis,
Very nice.
Prabhujis.
Yeah,
8:45.
Maharaj,
You want to say something, Prabhuji?
Yes, I like this Maharaj's explanation. I like to just add one sentence here. We don't
please.
see things through our physical eyes. So whatever experience we get or whatever we see is through our, let's say, mind and intelligence. That's why, whatever we see in our physical eyes needs to have a certain size. But we see through our, let's say, mind and intelligence, there is no any size we can see, whether it's big or small. Yeah, that's it, I think. Hare Krishna. Very nice discussion today. I think it's one of the most wonderful classes. Thank you, Prabhuji.
So thank you, Prabhuji, Balram Prabhuji, for adding valuable points, and our Govind Maharajji. Very, very insightful and deep. I think we'll take some time to come in terms with Maharaj's desire for us, and we pray that we progress in our understanding. And thank you very much, Madan Manohar Prabhuji. Very nice class, and your desire to reunite with the Lord may be installed in all our hearts. Hare Krishna. Thank you, one and all. His Grace Madan Manohar Prabhuji ki.
Jai Rajapati Maharaj ki. Jai Guru Maharaj ki jai. Jai Prabhupada ki jai. B.A. Bhaktivedanta ki jai. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.